This conference will now be recorded.
In the field of automation, okay, and I have started my career in 2006, and now till the date I'm working only on automation. So I worked on mobile automation, I worked on API automation, I worked on Selenium plus Java automation, then C#, then Python, and then R language. Also, I worked on load and performance automation using JMeter and other tools as well. I have 2 patents on my name, where I'm working currently. So that is the thing. From the education background, I have finished my engineering in computer technology. So basically, guys, please make your mic on mute. Okay. So I finished my engineering in computer technology from Nagpur University. Basically, I'm from Varda. Okay, and later on I have completed my MBA, a stupidity. Okay, after engineering. So yes, I have a son, and I have he is near about 5 years old. So I have one request to all of you. The request is, please keep your mic on mute while I'm talking. Yesterday we had this demo session, so very basic, but most of you, I guess I can see some of you are new today. So what you can do is you just keep your mic on mute. Any question you can ping on the chat window of this conversation. You just ping that on the chat window of this conversation so that I can probably answer those questions at the end. So we'll walk through with our whole demo, and at the end I'll keep some time to answer those questions. So guys, now I'm going to start. Okay. So basically, we said we wanted to do some API automation. Most of the time we said we wanted to test the API, we wanted to do some testing on the API side and all. But a basic question, the question says, any of the organization, do you think they test APIs thoroughly? Most of the time we can see the companies, they are just doing a UI side testing most of the time. Okay, on the API side or on the backend side testing, most of the companies, they do their unit test, but the QA, as a QA, will focus only on the manual side most of the time, not on the automation side. Still, manual testing are also not possible. So many people are not aware about what API is, how API behaves, how to test API and all those things. So here, so API, this is my very high level scenario. When we say API, it is nothing but application programming interface. I'll explain what is interface and what is application and what is programming. Okay, when we say application, so first A says it's an application and the last I says it's an interface. So we created an interface for the application by programming. That is your API. We create an interface for your application by programming. This is your API. Now there are 2 types. Okay, so not we can say the types. If you can see in this diagram, this is my front end. Okay, and this is my back end. So let's say I have some of the third-party apps that is external. If you wanted to coordinate with external, you need some API to contact. If you wanted to work on cloud services, you need some programming interfaces to contact. If you wanted to work on internal, definitely these are your services. So if you can see API work in the external as well as internal network both. Okay, now, so if I wanted to explain very basic on the API side, what is API? So let's say from the Uber app, if I wanted to search something on your location. So this goes to the Uber server. Uber server send that to the cloud or the location API of Google API. Okay, Google location API. It will get some values and it will send to the end user system. This is my interface. It will get a request and it will send the response to the end user. Now, when we say API, again, here is my layer, API layer. This is my web app, okay? This is my client, this is my server. This one on the right hand side is the server, the database backend, and this one is my client. When I say client, client is nothing but your end user, where you are trying to access any of the application. So if you can see the definition, an API is a set of programming code that enables data transmission between one software product and another. This is called nothing but a data exchange. So on my web app browser, let's say I click on a weather, or if I wanted to get, let's take an example of your a banking application. I wanted to check my account balance. Okay, as an end user, guys, please keep your mic on mute, please. Guys, please keep your mic on mute. Okay. So when we say it's a banking application, as a banking application, if I wanted to, for example, if I wanted to get my account details, I request that account detail that goes via internet to my API. API goes to my backend, where is my web server and database. Backend is nothing but my server and my database. It will get that request. This will process that request and send it back via API that response. So as the end user, I send this request to get my account balance. Web server and database process that and responded back. So you'll get response as your account balance. So this is nothing but your transmission of data from one software to another. Now, most of the time we say, what are the types of API? We said, okay, there are REST, there are SOAP. So it's totally different. When we say types of API, there are three. One is private API, then your partner API, and third one is your public or external API. Private API, partner API, public or external API. Now, what is private? Private APIs are solely used within an organization. That means we are not going to share that endpoint or those APIs with the outside world. So those are mostly built for company employees. So it's totally a private for the people from the same company they are working. So if you can see the use case, that is integration of company systems or apps or development of a new system using existing resources. For example, you're developing some workspace management system within your organization. So that is your private data. You cannot share the detail of your employees to the outside or your partners or someone else. Okay. Now my second type is my partner APIs. Partner APIs are promoted and available for known business partners. Let's say if I am working on any of the third-party system. So if I want to control some of my electronics equipment, okay, if I am working with LG and LG has their own API from where I'll get some response. Let's say I said on Uber, if I am getting some data from the location API of Google, those are my partner APIs. So Google is working with Uber to provide you the location. Same way, LG will work with you to provide the details of your LG products. Those are your partner APIs. Okay. When we say a public or external API, public or external APIs are, let's say, again an example, if I wanted to access a weather. today's weather. So there are free or public APIs by which I can get the weather. Those are open source APIs. So those are your public or external APIs. Those are totally open to use. Those are your public APIs. So there are only three types of API: private API, partner API, public or external API. Okay. Now, so we'll take some of the again usage. So how that APIs behave. Let's say I said a database APIs, operating system APIs, remote APIs, and web APIs. These are the usages. So when I say API, I need some database API to access, let's say SQL Server or Oracle or some other database APIs by which I can do some operations on the database side. Operating systems where I can get some network information and all from any of the system. Remote APIs where I can get some information of the remote desktop or remote systems and all. Web APIs, which is very important and where we are going to work. So web APIs are your public, private, and which we saw just now. So those are your web APIs to access any of the things on the client side or on the server side. I'll go one by one on this side. When we say database APIs, those are communication between an application and the database management system. Okay. So open source APIs like Oracle, MongoDB, then MySQL, CoachDB, all those are your database APIs that is used or for databases to writing queries. Okay, we can access the data or change some of the tables using these database APIs. Operating system APIs, these are again what we say is this group of APIs defines how application use the resources of the systems. Okay, so what is the resources, CPU usage, memory usage, and all those things we can see using these operating system APIs. And all the operating system APIs are different, like for Mac OS, iOS, okay, that is used for iOS and all those APIs. Now, remote APIs, those are the standard for interaction for application running on the different machine. Okay, so there are again different APIs by which we can take some of the data or some of product accesses on running on the different remote machines or different machines. Then web APIs, those are provide to machine readable data and functionality transfer between web-based system, which represent your client server architecture, client and server architecture, which we say on the client side APIs, on the server side APIs. So that mostly work on your HTTP protocol, hypertext transfer protocol. Okay. Now, when we say API specification or the protocols, REST, then SOAP, RPC, GraphQL, all those are the specifications or a protocol used in API. These are not a type. Most of the time we say REST and SOAP are the type of APIs. So these are a specification or the protocols. While we write our Java code, that time I'll explain more in detail about these specifications. So these are nothing but your specifications or a protocols. RPC, that is remote procedure call, service object access protocol, that is SOAP, representational state transfer, REST, and GraphQL. Okay. Now, when we say RPC, it is a subroutine or a function call. It is a subroutine or a function call. That is my RPC. When we say SOAP, SOAP worked mostly on the HTTP. Okay, and it will always respond or get the data in XML form. That is your SOAP. And SOAP is mostly used with enterprise web-based software. Okay, where highly security of transmitted data is required. Then the third is your REST. The REST will work or put the data in both the form. If you can see, it will message in a different format like HTML, YML, XML, JSON, Okay, while SOAP only allows you the XML. That is the difference between SOAP and REST. Now, REST is also, it has some of the RESTful APIs. When we say RESTful APIs, okay, so what are the RESTful APIs and how do we access those? So there are some of the HTTP requests for the RESTful APIs like GET, PUT, POST, DELETE, and some others like options and others. Now GraphQL. GraphQL is nothing but a query language for API. It allows the client to detail exact data it needs on specifies. So we'll send the data in the query language or in a query string. So how we send a request in REST, in GraphQL we send whole query as a request. So it will not take more time to process in a database, and it will give you the response quickly. So GraphQL is fastest than the REST. So these are 4 specifications or a protocol in the API. Now we say what is CRUD. Most of the time in interview, people may ask you, tell me CRUD operations. So C is your create, R is your read, U is your update, and D is your delete. Okay. So for create, we used a post HTTP request. Read or retrieve, we used GET. Update, we used a PUT, and delete, we used a delete. These are the HTTP requests with this CRUD operation. We will see this. So CRUD operation, if people ask you in interview, did you work on CRUD operation? Answer is yes. CRUD, those are create, read or retrieve, update, and delete. That is your CRUD operation. Now, what is the methods? So HTTP methods, there are GET, PUT, POST, and delete. Okay. Now, already we said GET retrieves the representation or retrieves the data of a specified URL or URI, the endpoint or your base URI. Whereas PUT updates the resources. When we say updates the resources, so PUT is used to update existing resources, where POST is used to create a new resources. Interview question, and there is a most of the time this question we get confused. So PUT and POST. So PUT is used to update the resources and POST is used to create the new resources, where delete is used to delete that resources from the specified URI or URL. Again, there are 4 methods. There are more methods, but I'm just explaining these crude 4 methods. GET, PUT, POST, delete. GET is used to retrieve or read resources. PUT is used to update the resources. POST is used to create the new resources, and delete is used to delete the resources. Okay. Now, if I can take the example here, if you can see, when I wanted to get the list of products, when I say get the list of products, so this is my relative URI. There is relative and absolute. So absolute is your whole, where your base URI is plus your this endpoint URI. So if I can see, there is something https abc.com/api/products. So this is your relative API and /products. Whereas if I wanted to get this product by ID, I'll get this product /ID. If I get this by category, I'll definitely give this question mark. I'll give this question mark. If you can see here, if I wanted to get it by the category is nothing but the node. If I wanted to create a new product, I will use a post. If I wanted to update a product, I will use a PUT. If I wanted to delete a product, I will use delete. All these are my endpoint, or these are my relative URI. This is my main URI. This is my relative URIs. Okay. So again, if you can see, I wanted to get the list of products. This is my relative. If I wanted to get only by ID, this is my URI. If I wanted to get it by category, this is my question mark and category equals some value. If I want to create a new product, the post. I want to update the product, put. I want to delete the product, delete. Okay. So here I'll explain all the things on the very basic side of your APIs. So that is what your API is, an application programming interface, and work in the between your client and server. Okay. Now we'll jump on majorly towards the Postman tool. So if you have the Postman, still it's okay. If you don't have, you can go here, okay, and you can search, or let me write something on the Google Chrome. I will write here Postman download. So you can go to this site or download Postman app. Okay, you can go to this site, get Postman. If you have the Windows machine, you just simple select Windows 32, or you have the 64 window machine. Just select that version from here and it will start downloading on your system. That is what a Postman you need to send any of the requests to your server. Okay. So Postman is nothing but a client. This is working as a client which will send your request to server. Okay. So we will use this Postman for Windows. So I already downloaded this. If you want, you need to download Postman from this site. Go on your Windows machine and select from here. If you have Mac OS or Linux machine, you can download from here. Okay. Please keep yourself on. Okay. So now I'll open a Postman from here. Guys, my voice is echoing. Keep your mic on mute, please. Okay. So I'll write this Postman. So I have Postman. I open this Postman tool. So it is taking some time. Just give me a second. So we are opening the Postman. Okay, so Postman is nothing but, which I said, it's nothing but a client, okay, which will help you to send your request to your any of the server where you'll get the response. Okay, this is my Postman which I launch immediately. Okay, now here, if you can see, this is my workplace. Workplace is where I can hold a multiple collection, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my workplace. Okay, I can create a new workplace request collection environment from here on this new tab. Again, I can create a new request collection or environment. When I say request, request is my HTTP request, get, put, post, delete. When I say collection, collection is nothing but a collection of multiple requests. Okay, I'll show you how we manage this, how we particularly manage all those things, or a multiple request within one collection. Then I can see here import. Okay, so import is used to actually import your collection. For example, in your organization, if somebody send you a Postman collection, they said, a developer said, these are my collection, you need to work on these collections, or these APIs need to test, or this API needs to automate. That is a collection they will send. You can import that collection from this import tab. Okay, so from here, once you imported, you will see here that that collection will be imported here. Okay, same way I said, this is my workplace. I can create my new workplace here. I can create something else. All those things is possible here. So the workplace which hold a multiple collection. So currently I'm working on my workplace, so that is my collection, that is my workspace. Here, if you can see, these are your settings. So on settings, you can see all the documentation, your security, support, you can contact and release note. Again, most of you, if you are finding this SSL issue, just go to this settings and select this SSL certificate verification to on. This will resolve your problem. Most of the time will send some request and that will fail. It will show you the SSL certificate verification failed. So you can go to the settings, SSL certificate verification, and you can select this. Okay, these are your settings. Now these are my environment. When I say environment, if you can see, there are multiple environment I have created. One that is automation, pre-prod, then your QA. So if I can see this automation environment, there are something that I have already defined in this automation. Okay, so if you can see in the automation, this is view. If I quick look on my automation variable, I can select this is my user Mahesh and this is my global ID or something, or my global initial value. I wanted to send this value and all this. This is my global variable, this is my something else. So all those are my environment. Automation is my environment which I have selected. These are globals which is used globally for all the workspaces or all the collection. Okay, so I select no environment right now. Clear. And when you launch your Postman, you will see always this basically how to create the request collection and all those, and some of the tutorials here itself. Now on the collection side, we are going to create a new collection from here. If you can see, this is a tab where I'm going to create a new collection. Once I create click on this collection, it says okay, the collection name. So I gave the collection name API session trial example. Okay, here's my collection name. Here I can give the detail or the description about this API session. So I'll give this API session is used to demonstrate how to figure request. This is my just description. I said create. If you can see, I have created a API session collection here. If you can see, there is a zero count. There is a zero count on this collection. Now I wanted to take one of the request and one of the site. So let's go back so I can show you. Oh, this is a site, jsonplaceholder.typecode.com. On this side, if you can see, this is my base URI. If you can see, this is my base URI. That means this is my base URI. After this, I will get any of the relative path by which I can access some of the resources. Either I can retrieve, either I can update, either I can create, either I can delete the resources. Okay, so we'll go more in detail about this particular type code. Let's go down. So if you can see, so what it says, okay, there are different resources. It says there are 6 resources which we wanted to work. First, it says post. So post is a gate. If I can get this post, that is my relative path. So how many posts I will get? I will get 100 posts. I will get the 100 posts in my response. Second is my comments. If I wanted to do some of the comments, or if I can retrieve this relative path, I will get a 500 comments. I will get a 500 comments. Okay, so post is my gate. This is my by ID. This is by category. If you can see, we said question mark. That is my category. You remember? So these are all the things we wanted to fire now. All these are the gate APIs. Okay, so I'll just copy this my base URI and we go back to our API session trial. Now, always listen, whenever you worked on any of the collection, give a proper convention or proper process. So do not add directly. If you can click here, see, it will say add request, but don't do that. Do not create a request directly within your collection folder. Better, you can say, let's say I go back here, I said, let's create a new folder. And I said this folder will hold all my gate APIs. So this folder will on gate requests. I said okay. So if you can see now API session trial, I have another folder. Now if you want, you can add a request here. It says okay, add a request. I click on add request. I said gate posts. Okay, that is my request. I said this request will help me to get all posts from a base. Yeah. Okay, and I said this will create under which folder. So it is, if you can see here, this is creating under a gate folder. If you can see, this is creating under a gate folder. I said save to get. If you can see, this request is created. So API session trial, now it has a count 1. There is one request within this collection. Within this collection, I can see one request, one folder gate, and there is again a request which says get the post. I click on this request. If you can see, this is blank right now. Now I said there are the CRUD operation, create, read, retrieve, update or delete. If I wanted to change, I can change it from here. These are the different methods: post, put, patch, delete, copy, head, options, and all others. Okay, you can change your request from here. So this is my HTTP request. You can change your method type from here. Currently it is GET, so that's why I wanted to do that GET. Now I have this my base URI. I can copy this and paste here. So I can paste here my base URI, and I said this is just a post. I wanted to get that post. This one, this is my relative / post. If you can see, I write base URI is this / post is my relative. If you can see here, a / post is my relative URI. I don't want to give any parameters as of now, though it's a gate. I don't require it. Okay. If you wanted to see, there are some authorization headers. Okay, you wanted to give some headers, then your body. I'll explain that to later on. Then test and then settings. So once we can see this, and I say send this request so that I can get. Okay, so okay, let me. Okay, once I send this request, I can get, if you can see here, I can get a response back. So how many response back I get? You can see user ID and ID 1. Okay, so if you can see, there are 100 posts we will get once we send a post. If you can see here again, this post relative path will reply or to response me 100 post. That is nothing but a response. We will get it after this relative path. So currently we are getting those 100. So this is a very basic. Again, if you can see, this is my raw data. I can see in the JSON format. This is my output. If I wanted to change in text, you can change in text, on XML, on any other area. So I can select this in JSON. This is my basic get. Okay. Now, always people may ask you, how do I confirm whether, before going to Postman, how do I confirm whether it works or not? So go back again to your URI. Okay. So now I can select this URI and I can go here, I can paste this, and I said I wanted to get the post. So same thing, same URI, if you try with your relative path on your browser, it should respond back to your 100. So if you can see, I can get this 100 IDs in my response. Okay. Now it says a comments. If I wanted to check the comments, I say hit enter. I should see the 500 comments here. Let's see how many comments are there. So if you can see, we have the 500 comments. So if we can go back there, if I can see the relative path of comments, I can get a 500 comments. Okay, I'll go back one more time. So this is my gate. I will add another request. So this time I need to click here on these three dots. I said add request. I said get comments. I'll not add any description now. We'll save some time. Okay. And next click on save. I'll enter here this and I said a comments. I said a comments. Again, there is no parameters or any other things are required. That's why I'm directly clicking on send. If you can see on the post one response or your body, you will get the output of 500 comments here. All those 500 comments, you will get it here. Okay. So by the same way, if you can see, we can hit our request, a get request to any of the particular HTTP request. Now let's see. It says now I wanted to get by ID 1. Okay, I wanted to get that ID by 1. So I'm going to create another request. I said get by ID. And I say save. Again, I click here and I click here posts. I said /1. So I said I wanted to get now these are your strings, query strings. Okay, you wanted to retrieve a specific data. Now you said I wanted to get all the details of one. I wanted now this is okay. I wanted to fetch all the details of one. So I said send. So I get the value of user ID 1. There is only one response. So there is only one array. We'll get it, and we wanted to search that. So this is a specific output from the post. So previously there are 100 posts, but I want to fetch only that is having a ID 1. So I get that 1 here. Now let's say I wanted to get that by again a category. So I go back, I said add request, I said get by category. I said save. I go back here. Now this time again, my base URI, I enter here base URI slash, this time your post. Okay. And I said I wanted to get my ID equals 1. If you can see this time what we did is we did a question mark, that is by category. I wanted to fetch it by category this time. So categories, I wanted to fetch from 100 post, I wanted to fetch only which category is 1, ID is equals to 1. I wanted to fetch only that details. I click on send and I get that data. Okay, so I get that data that this is my particularly by category where the ID value is 1. I wanted to fetch only that value. Now you can fetch the category by title, by user ID, by body, all other things you can fetch it the data from. So if you wanted to fetch some detail of a specific title, you can fetch it from here, those title. If you wanted to fetch with some body, you can fetch it with that body. If you wanted to fetch with user ID, you can fetch it with this user ID from here. Okay, this is my basic gate. Now I go back here and I say we wanted to see one post. I wanted to post a data. Okay, I say I wanted to post some data. So I wanted to create something. Let me see. So I do have probably. So I will not do more time into this. Okay. So let's say this is post. I said I wanted to post. I wanted to post a new resource within this existing resources. So whenever you worked on the post, you need to pass some body. There is a body or specific things which you need to pass, some of the value which is required, some of the parameters which is required, some of the keys which you need to require to pass in your body, where you said I wanted to create a new user ID 100, which body is automation and which title is Mahesh. I wanted to create this new resource. When I said I selected here a post, if you can see the method type, I select here a post. Post is used to create. Post is used to create. Okay, so this is my post, and I said I wanted to post this detail, this data within the existing resources. I click on send. If you can see, I have created a new data, that is Mahesh, body is automation, user ID is 100, and if you can see this time ID is 101. Why? Because there is already 100 resources, so that's why this ID is created 101. Again, already you have 100 resources within your post, your relative. Okay, now when I create a new resource that is with the title Mahesh and user ID 100, it will create a new ID which is a dynamic or auto generated, that is created at position 101. Okay, so this is my basic post. With this, if you can see this one, I said post, so I post on this. If I wanted to do the put, that means I wanted to update the existing, I can do. If I wanted to delete something, I can delete the something. So only I need to change this my method type. Once I'll do that, we can do these things as well. Okay, that is one thing. Now again, so I have created this gate. Now let's say I wanted to create a new folder. I said I wanted to create this time post. I created the folder post. Now under the post, I do have my own request like post new resource. I say save to post. If you can see, I can see here a gate. I wanted to do the post. I can select post. I want to do this. I can do this post, and then I will send some value in the my body. If I wanted to do the title, then the same way, your user ID, ABC, and all. So this is what you can do it from here. This is my post. Same way, if I can do put, same way if I can do my delete. Okay, so if you can see these things now, so if you send this collection to anyone, if you send this collection to anyone, this is very easy to understand what are my GET requests, how many are my GET requests, what are my post requests, what are my put requests, what are my delete requests. So with this, anyone can understand and they start working immediately on this request. So most of the time, if someone send you any of the collection, you can ask them in this way. So your developer may send you always the collection, but where they'll just send all the collection, where all the requests within a single collection. Very difficult for you to understand those requests. So that's why I ask you always request them in this format so that it is easy for you to analyze as well as execute. So this is how we can do. I just wanted to show you something on the, if you can see here, I send this get post URI. This is nothing but my environment variable which I have passed. So you can set your environment variable also in this way. I'll not take more time on the Postman. This is not required. We'll jump on now automation side. Okay, so this is how your Postman. Now we'll jump on the automation side. So for the automation, you need basic things like your Eclipse on your system, JDK, Java installed on your machine, and test engine. Okay, so Java and a test engine. These three things are required on your machine. And a very important is your this REST assured. Now REST assured is a API. Okay, it's a library which will help you to automate whatever the things that we did currently using Postman, we can do with the help of REST assured library. With the help of REST assured library, we can do the same things. That's what we did in our Postman. That means I can send my HTTP request or my method type, that is get, post, put, delete, and all others, using REST assured. REST assured is a library in a Java. REST assured is a library in a Java. You need to download that REST assured jar. To download that, you need to go to this URL on the GitHub. That is your REST assured. It's an open source. You can download it. You will get here the zip file. If you can see the first link, that is REST assured 4.3.0.this. That is your REST assured library, which hold your REST assured library. Once you click, it will download. In my case, I have downloaded this REST assured here. Okay, so I have 4.2.0. So I downloaded that and I do have this REST assured 4.2.0. So you will get all executable jars from this. Now REST assured will help you to work on a BDD. BDD is behavioral driven development. When we say BDD, it will follow the approach given, when, and then. BDD follow the approach given, when, and then. When we say given is my prerequisites. When I say when is my action. When I say then is my expected results. Given prerequisites, when action, then is my expected results. So REST assured follow this given, when, and then. Okay, that is nothing but a BDD approach. I'll show you the example, don't worry. Okay, so now once you download it, you just go to your Eclipse, you just open your Eclipse. So whatever version you do have of your Eclipse, you can just open that Eclipse version. Okay, and I just open it. Give me a second. It is open. Okay. Now, so from Eclipse, I'm not going more in detail about how to create the project. That already all of you are known. If not known, we'll schedule one basic Java session also in the future. Don't worry, you can join it there. Okay, so now I have a project that is basic API code base, if you can see here. And within that project, if you can see, I have added all those reference libraries. So how to add the reference libraries? Right click on your project, go to build path, go to configure build path, and go to your library. If you can see, I download all those users, all those libraries from this. Okay, and I have added all those libraries. If you can see, REST assured 4.2, and all those libraries. So you just add from here, add external jars. You can click on add external jars, and you can add all those libraries which are required here. Without that, it is not possible. Okay, that is one thing. I click on OK. Now you need another thing, that is your test engine. If you don't have test engine on your machine, you can go to the window, okay, help, and install a new software or Eclipse Marketplace. Out of these two, you can go anywhere. Once you go to install new software, you can select here, you can click here, you can add here test ng and whatever the URL, I mean usd.com/eclipse, okay, and all those. So I do have already, so I'm not adding that. So once you install, it will come here and you just select and click in here on finish. So we get test ng on your machine. Second, if you go back to Eclipse Marketplace, Marketplace is where, let's say, you will get all other software. So you can simply search here on the search box, directly search here the test ng. If you can search test ng here, test and ng, and whatever the test ng document or will come here, you can just work on that test ng, and you just install that test ng on your machine. So this one. So if you can see, I search test ng, I install test ng for Eclipse. This is installed, if you can see here. So once you install test ng, you need to add test ng also into your library. Again, right click on your project, build path, configure build path, and your library, and this time add library. This time add library, not add external jars. And if you can see, I have test ng here. Select this test ng, next, and finish. I already have here test ng on my project, so I'll not do, but this is how you need to proceed. Select this test ng, first add library, test ng, select, next, finish. So you will see the test ng also here in this library. So these are your basic setup which is required on your system. Now what I did, there is one source folder. I have created one basic package, that is REST code package, and I have created a Java class verify gate. Okay, so I'll go back and I open this. Now when I say basic run, what was my base URI? We always saw this was my base URI there, which we send on your, this was my base URI always. Okay, till the point I do have my base URI, and there is something that is my relative URI. So REST assured is a class. If you can see, this is my class. REST assured is a class. We do have some of the constants, some of the static members of this REST assured class. So static, non-static we saw already in the previous session. Okay, so this is my static. So if I wanted to access static outside of a class, I can directly use class name dot. I defined here REST assured my base URI equals the value this, that JSON placeholder typecode.com. Okay, now second line says request specification. Now request specification is nothing but my interface. This is nothing but my interface which will help you to modify this request. Okay, this is help you to modify your request. Again, a request specification. When I say specification, if you can go back on your, okay, if you can go back and say, what are my API specifications? So these are my API specification, REST, SOAP, RPC. Okay, so those are my specification. I said I have which specification? I have a REST specification right now. Now I told you this is my given. I said it's follow the BDD pattern, given, when, and then. I said REST assured is given. So that is nothing but my HTTP request. So I assign that to my HTTP request. Now I wanted to get the response of my relative path, that is my post. So what I did, so if that given, that means this is assigned here. This base URI is assigned in my request, and I said I wanted to send which method type? I wanted to send a method type get. I wanted to send a method type get, and this is my relative path. Every method will response a class. This is my again interface, response interface. So I'll get some response. So I stored in the interface response. Okay, again, this is my HTTP request. REST assured base URI hold this. Now this is given here. That is my HTTP request. HTTP request dot method type get, and this is my relative. This should respond me the response data. Okay, this will store or represents the response written from your server. So response will interface will help you to store or represent the response written from a server. Okay, this will contain all the data sent by the server. So once I send this request, it will respond me something. The server responds me that will stored here, that response data. And now I wanted to print that response data. I wanted to print that response data, and I wanted to see how much it should print me the 100 post. It should print me the 100 post. Okay, so this is my basic code where I mentioned this is my REST assured as a class. This is my static data member where I assign the value, that is my base URI. Then that base URI is given, and then I send a method type and relative path post, and I get my response data. Now I want to convert that response data into string, so that I wanted to print it. So I'll get response here. I will get response written from the server here. I just wanted to convert that as a string. Once I convert that as a string, I should print it. Okay, so this is very basic and very basic test. I simply run this test, right click. I said run as. I said this is my test ng test. So I said test ng test. Once I click, it will start executing and run the code, and it should response, or the response data should be your 100. Response data should be your 100 that post. See, I can get all those 100 posts. Okay, all those 100 posts I have get in my string, query string. See, we saw three different ways. First way, what we saw from the your actual URL that is on your Chrome. If you wanted to send the same query from Chrome, it should respond you the 100 posts. So it should respond you the 100 posts. You can see here. Same thing we try from your, if I say get post, it should respond you 100 posts from your Postman. And same thing we tried with the Java with the help of REST assured third party library, and it should respond you the 100 post. Okay, So this is very basic, guys. We saw a cycle from your browser to your Postman to your automation. These three things. Okay. Now I'll show you some of the code base, very basic code base on this. I'll just comment this. I had written some of the code for you. Okay. So I comment this test. So this is the comment. Once I comment, this test will not execute. Once I comment, this test will not execute. Now we'll see one by one. Let's say this is my second test. What it says, so I had written very basic here. The basic run with a given get method. I said rest assured, again, this is my base URI, static base URI. I said again rest assured dot get, but this time how I send the HTTP request, if you can see here, this prior to this, how we were passed that directly HTTP request dot get. That is my method type. But here we did some change. We pass HTTP. Okay, what is it? It is a request of which method? It's a method of type get, and this is my relative path. Okay, again. So same way, how response, we will get some response data from the server here. Same way, we are getting response data from server here. Okay, only the variable or the instance type or the name is different, nothing else. Okay, now again, I said this is my HTTP request. Till the point it is same. Now here I get my HTTP request. I said this time not directly get here. I said I wanted to send a request of type or method get. Which relative path is post? And I get the response back. Once I get the response back, there is a method named as a get status code. I wanted to do asset. Yesterday somebody asked me, can you show some of the code base on the asset? So I said yes, we'll show that. So asset is again a test ng. Okay, so asset is a class in a test ng which will help you to do your checkpoints. Again, I repeat, asset is a class in a Java or in test ng which will help you to do your checkpoint. Now checkpoint says a question, is that correct or wrong? Is that written true or false? Always, whenever assert not match, it will fail the test. Whenever assert match, it will pass the test. Now I forgot to show you the get status code. So if we go back, so just give me a second, I'll show you some get status code. If you can see here, we'll see the status code from the Postman. When we send a request, we'll get here a status code. This is my status code. If you can see, I highlighted here. This is my status code. Okay, 200. There are 200. When you create something, you will get 201. Okay, then you have the series of 4, then series of 5, server, client, and all others. Okay, it says how much time, a millisecond, it will take to response this request, and what is the download or upload size of this request. So again, this is the status. 200 okay is saying a pass. When it has any other status in get, it will fail. Okay, same way in time, it says these are the milliseconds it may take to execute this request. This is the size of this response. Okay, now go back here. The same thing I'm checking here. What I said, I wanted to send my HTTP request. This is my request. I wanted to send this get as a method post, and I wanted to check whether that status code is 200 or not. I wanted to do this checkpoint. If that is equals, that means this test is passed. Otherwise, this test is failed. Okay, that means this test is passed. Otherwise, this test is failed. So I simply remove this. I want to execute this test. So I need to uncomment this @test annotation here. Okay, so let's run this code again. Once we run, we wanted to see whether it is pass, whether it is fail. So let's see. Okay, this test is pass. What it says? This time this test is pass. We run one and we pass that test. There is no failure, there is no skip. So this test is pass. That means your assert is pass. If you go back to results here, you will see that assert is pass. Okay, in summary also, if you wanted to see, there is your assert, this test is pass. Okay, so I'll make this smaller, and so I get this test pass. It has a return, it has a status code 200. Now let's try if we can change this status code to 400. We will try that too, if it's fail or something. Okay, we just wanted to try, and we just run the test. So we wanted to see what is the output. So it says this one, this time it is failed. If you can see, I'll make it bigger. See what it says. Your checkpoint error. What your checkpoint error? Expected is 400. It says expected is 400, but what we found? We found a 200. That's why your this test is fail. Your checkpoint is fail, and we terminate your execution here. Okay, this is how this test works. This is how your status code, your asset works. Okay, so now I'll show you one by one test here so that you can understand the code base of your rest assured, and you can ask the question later on. Okay, so we have another 15 minutes where I'll take this code base, and then you can start asking your question. Okay, now next is I am validating the state code for each the status code request. Now see this time what we did. So we are doing the same thing but with the different way. Now this time a base URI is this, again a same code. Now I said there is a given, when, and then. I said there is given, when, and then. In BDD it's said GWT, given, when, then. Okay, so if you can see, I had a given, when I get this, then my status code should be 200. Again, I have my rest assured, that base URI already I do have. Rest assured is given when I send a request of method type get, then I can see the status code 200. I'll explain one more time. When I say given, given is my prerequisites. When I say when is my action, and when I say then is my expected results or output. You can say output, whatever it is. If you can see, I had my prerequisites. What is my prerequisites? I have this base URI is my prerequisites. What is my prerequisites? The base URI is my prerequisites, that is this URI. I said when. When, that is my action. When I send this request of method type post, method type get of relative path post. Okay, that is my action. Then my expected result is 200. So I said given, I said when, I said then. So again, same code which we had written here on the same code I just written here. Nothing changed. This time I just show you the way how we write in a BDD, the way how we execute in a BDD. Okay, so this is my simple test. I wanted to execute and I wanted to see whether it is pass or fail. I comment this test case. I wanted to uncomment this test. Okay. And I simply run as my test ng test and we'll see whether it is pass or fail. Okay. So let's go back. See, this test is passed this time. Again, the same code, only the way is BDD way. This time I show you a BDD way where you pass the data by given, when, and then. Okay, and again you see in your results of running class, that is in your test ng execution, the runner, you will see this is pass. There is no failure. So the same test but the different way. Now let me show you some other. Okay, now this time what we are doing, I want to simply print the output, that body, what we'll get in the output. I just simply wanted to print that. So in the first test, if you remember, we simply print here as a string that response data as a string. Okay, so what we did here, again my base URI is the same. Again, that is my given, that is my prerequisites, and this time I not used a when. I simply said rest assured dot method type get of this, and I wanted to get the body and print as a string. Okay, this time there is no when, even though if you can write a when, still it works. Okay, this time it will return you a string which you are going to print, So let's say my given, my prerequisites is my base URI. I said a get method type of post. Okay, I will get some response. Now once we go back here, if you can see, there is a body. If you can see your request, your output, you'll getting in body. Okay, so this body we are fetching here. Okay, that get body, and we convert that as a string. So this is nothing but your response data, response from your server, and that will you convert into a string. Once that converts into a string, you simply printing that. Okay. Okay, so one more time, rest assured you are going to given, that is your prerequisites, you are finding a request of method type get. This is your relative path, and you are getting here the response data. Once you get that response data, you will convert into a string. You convert into a string, okay, and then you printing. You wanted to execute, let's try, and we'll execute that test too. I wanted to uncomment the previous test and uncomment this. Let's execute and we'll see what is the output. Okay, so very basic test. Let's go back and we'll see. Okay, if you can see, this test is passed and you will get all your body printed here. That is your response data. If you can see, this is your response data. You will see all the data printed here. Okay, guys. So again, this test says I wanted to print the get body. So again, a different way to print something. Now I'll show you the next test. See, I said you can print with the help of when also. So here we do have direct get. Here I do have a when. Okay, so I get this when here. The rest everything is same. That given, when, get, again my body, that response data, and I wanted to convert into a string, and you can execute that. Okay, so I said this is nothing but my action. Okay, previously I did directly given my action. This time I had showcase a BDD way of giving my action. Okay, so if you execute, you will see the same output. Let me execute. I'll comment this test and let's execute. Okay, so let's see the output. Okay, I executed one test and that is passed, and I can see the output the same way. You'll see all your 100 posts here. You'll see all your 100 posts here. All the posts are printing in a string which you converted. This time only you have added an action, that is when, of BDD format. Previously you were not added that when. Okay, so all your 100 posts you can see in the console output. So that is one test. Now, okay, now next I wanted to show you something. Okay, we said there are some collections also involved into this REST. So I don't want to go more in detail about this. It may create some chaos in you because it is a bit difficult to understand the collection at this stage. Okay? But I'll show you some of the example. Just have a look. Again, I have my base URL, again the same base URL. Okay. This time I used a matcher. Okay, the matcher class. So if you can see here I had written all the comment has items matcher. We have validated that the expected ID integer are present in the array of ID. So what it means, so you are getting some output, right? You're getting some output. All these are one array. Okay, we are saying I wanted to check one ID which is present in the body or not. I wanted to see whether that expected output is present in my result data, in my response. Simply what it says, I wanted to check that 91 ID is present in the body. One more time. Was has item says it's a matcher. Okay, has items says it's a matcher. It's a static. If you can see on the top, I import that has items. Okay, I imported that has items here. Okay, that is your matcher. See, if you can see, I imported this. So it's a static method. That is the way of importing static. Okay, and I said now using that has item matcher, I can validate the expected item or expected ID. In our case, its ID is available within or present within the response body. Okay, so this time I pass with the category. This time, if you can see, previously we were passing only post. This time what we did, this time we had given a category. So what this will do, let's try this on the browser, or let's try here. So I remove this and you will see what happened with this request. So once I send this request, it will see, the response body says it has only one record. It will return me a one resource, that is with the ID 91, because I have passed this category ID equals 91. Now, this is my response. This is my response data. Once I get this response data here, till the point here, I wanted to then validate whether that body response data has a item 91, which ID equals 91. Is what I wanted to check. Okay, now same way, again I am passing the same URL or same relative path, and this time I wanted to check whether the title is having this value. So if you can see, the title is having this value. Okay. So this is my has items. I say I wanted to check whether this has a 91. I wanted to check whether this has this string. Okay. A very basic, but these are your collections and these are your matches. Matches are used a lot while we work on any API automation, because always whatever response data we will get, the same response body or response data, we will do some of the manipulations, okay, and then we validate on the UI. I will explain the flow now. Let's say I have a banking application, okay. Now on that banking application, let's say I want to show you something, okay. So I have a banking application. This is my web page, okay. This is my web page. This is my left navigation, okay. And let's say this is my center data. I'll not go more in detail. This is my let's and okay or not will do. Here we do have a multiple left navigation link. I said account balance is one. Then I have my fund transfer. Then I have some of the statements and all. Okay. Now, once I click on this account balance, I will get the account balance here. Once I click here on account balance link, I'll get account balance here. So as a tester, what we will do, I wanted to hit this get API of account balance. of account balance. Once I hit that, I will get the response that is my account balance. I wanted to validate my account balance using automation. So what I'll do, I will first hit this relative path or this base URI or endpoint URL of account balance. Once I click, I will get my response data. Once I'll get response data, then I will use my matchers, that is has items. I will say the balance or the amount equals some values. For example, it may have a node into your array, amount equals 10,000. So I wanted to validate that amount is reply or amount having the value 10,000. Same way, once I've hit that account balance here, I wanted to, let's say I wanted to, this account balance is my endpoint. Then I wanted to check my amount is equals 10,000. Manually to perform this operation is not that easy because there are 1,000 or more than a lakh users. So how do we compare that? So if you execute the same for a multiple users, same queries for multiple user and validating the data, it is nothing but more than 10 minutes of work. Okay, this is how we are going to validate. And we said, okay, this is pass, or you can do some of the asset also here rather than printing. You can use the assets. If it is pass, that means your checkpoint is pass and your test is pass. Okay, guys. So your has items is very important. Okay, and your matchers are very important. There are different matchers which I have. Some of the concat string, then you can have equal to matcher, and then you have some has item also, as items also. Okay, so this we will have more. Okay, but I don't want to confuse you at this stage on any of these matcher. We'll take a separate thing on this. This is how we can see from browser your endpoint to your Postman to your code. So now I can stop here, guys. You can start asking your question on the chat window. I can start answering those questions. Okay. Okay. So please start asking your question.
Mahesh, they already asked some question. I have sent you on personal chat. Please check.
Okay. Okay, so what are we validating in the GET request? Okay, in the GET request, most of the time we validate the status code. So let's say I'll go back here. Okay, so on the GET, we can validating most of the time the status code. Okay, most of the time we can validate a time. Why? Because those are your performance. So when we say performance, performance are okay, I'll explain you very high level, guys. Just understand these things. Okay, this is very basic, but people may ask you in interview. The validation in GET. Let's say I have my GET API, which is responding in a 1 second, for example. Then there are some calculations, some of the CSS implementation, some of the developer implementation on top of that. When we say some of the developer implementation on top of that, it means they have some calculations, then they have some CSS load, some on calculations, which may take another 2 seconds. So your whole page may load in a 3 seconds. Now, if your API respond 3 seconds, if your API respond in a 3 seconds, so on top of that, it may take 2 seconds. So your response is 5 seconds. Okay, so your response in a 5 seconds. So that means when we say response in a 5 seconds, that means your duration, that means your this time duration assertion fails. Your duration assertion fails. This is how we say it. Validating in GET is most of the time your status, your duration, and your body. Like we just now we saw, I wanted to validate my amount, I wanted to validate my ID, I want to validate my username. All those things we are validating all there. Okay, I can see. Okay, just difference between API and a web service. Okay, API is application programming interface, and web service which work only on HTTP, where API worked on HTTP as well as HTTPS, both the protocols. Then for post request, how can I, what is this difference? Okay, that is again the same answer, API and web service. That is, API is your application programming interface, and web service is your which help you for the HTTP only. So most of the time we can say web service is your SOAP and API is your REST. Okay, then okay, which are the framework mainly used for API automation? Okay, guys. So the framework. Okay, again, when we say framework, there are the design pattern, and there is a difference between framework and the design pattern. Okay. You ask about framework, so we use TestNG as a framework. When you ask about a framework, TestNG as a framework we used. When asked about the design pattern, most of the time we used a page object model design pattern. Okay, so framework and design pattern are two different things. When we say framework, it's a TestNG framework, which just now we saw. We need to install the TestNG within your Eclipse, and you can start working on it. When you say design pattern, you need to create your own page object model design pattern. So page object model design pattern says it has every test is having its own action class, its own test class, and its own locator. So in API there is no locator, so you may have the verification class, because in API you don't require any of the probably locators. That's why you can directly use the verification class. That is your design pattern. There are a multiple design pattern, like your data driven, they are keyword driven, then BDD, UDD, then TDD, then hybrid. All those are your the design patterns. But best suit is your page object model, where you can collaborate your data driven also along with it. You can manage your test data within the JSON file, and you can work on the runtime JSON also. Okay, how may I do this? Okay. Okay, hi, may I know what basic knowledge required for it, API testing? Okay, guys, basic knowledge for API testing is the methods. What API is? First of all, you need to understand what is API and why API comes into the picture. If you know, I mean, when I started my career, that time there were no API. That time it was directly client and server collaboration. Whatever they sent from the client, they will get the output on the server side. Okay, so it may take some time. So most of the request goes to the server and most of the impact on the server, so performance be degraded. Now API comes into the picture, which is nothing but a middle layer now, API, so which will help you to get the specific response, like how you said, okay, I wanted to get the ID which value is 91, very specific. So you already created your query, you send it as a request and server respond only that much of data, not all. No need to do any calculations or something for the API. Now second thing, you need to understand all your method type. So at least if you can understand this CRUD method type, that is create, read, update, and delete, that is important to start as a basic first. Previously, there are so many method type which I have already shown you. If you want, I can show you again on my Postman. If you can see, these are all the method types. Okay, so these are all the method types. So no need to understand all as a basic. You simply see this first four first. You can understand this four, and then you can start working on first on your browser and then on your Postman. Then jump on the Java and REST assured. That is what my basic, feedback on this. Okay. So somebody says, please show one post method. Okay, I'll show you the post method. I guess you can see that. Okay, this is the post method. I can select this post here. Okay, I can select this post here. I simply select the method type as post from the drop down. Okay, and once I select that post, I simply my endpoint, and I gave some value in body. Okay, those body I have added. Once you send this request, you will get the output here on the response data on your body. Okay, okay, then okay, so somebody said post method in REST assured BTT. Okay, guys, I'll show you that more in detail in the next session, not now. Okay, because it is already we are late now. Okay. Okay, yes, explain JSON parser. Okay, so we can parse the JSON. There are JSON parser and there is some again libraries. Those are used to do the JSON parser. You can find your JSON path as well. When I say JSON path, you can find your JSON path with, I'll just simply writing here, okay. Do not take this as a final code, please. I'm simply writing. Okay, when I say JSON path, I can start the JSON path from double dot, and then I said dollar, and then I said amount is my this dot, then I said some val and something ABC. Okay, and this will return me the actual value. For example, here I wanted to get the user ID. This is my array. If there are multiple array, you can pass in this way: dollar the first array, the second array, first array, second array, in the third array, and you will want to get your ID. This is how you can parse your JSON. You will get the value, and then that value you can do your operation. This is how you can do the JSON parser. Again, in the JSON parser, you do have another third-party library which you can use. There is XML path as well. The same way we can find now JSON path as well. So XML path and JSON path, XML response and JSON response. So you can find your XML response using XML path. You can find your JSON response using JSON path. Okay. Okay, someone asked a question. Can we use a GET request instead of put to create a resource? Okay, yes, most of the people they used also, but that is a wrong approach. Okay, What standard says do not use those things. Standard says do not use those things. If you wanted to work, definitely you need to always write or follow the guidelines. So if you can say create, for example, somebody asked me the question also, can I do the create using put? Yes, you can. You can create resource using put also, but your status code will be not 201 that time. Okay. So you can use get also to do some create resource. That is also possible. Most of the people use, but that is a bug. You can directly log that as a bug to your developer. That is perfectly fine. There is not any challenge. Okay, is it related to a performance testing? Yes. When you say you are going to validate, when you say you are going to validate this time, okay, when you say you are validating this time, that is your response time, that is your duration. So that is 101% related to your performance testing. In your performance testing, those are the CTQs, critical to quality. CTQs are defined by your product owner or your technical architect, who said your API should respond in a 1 second or 500 milliseconds or 700 milliseconds and all. When you do your automation, you simply create a assertion. Likewise, we created for get status code. Same way you can create for get duration, and your duration should be below less than the expected CTQs. If it is more than that, that means your assert, that means your checkpoint fails. That means your checkpoint fails and your test will stop there. Okay, so that's why, yes, it is related to your performance. Okay. Okay. Now, somebody asked me the question of authentication, how to handle the authentication. Okay. For authentication, you need to set the authentication from your authorization. You can pass whether you need which authentication. Let's say I said I want to basic authentication. I wanted to set the basic authentication. Basic authentication or any other authentication, your user password authentication, your encrypted, all those authentication you have set it from Postman as well as from REST Assured. What is difference between REST and SOAP? Yes, REST work on HTTP, HTTPS, SOAP work only on HTTP. SOAP response body is XML and REST response body is in JSON. That is the difference between REST and SOAP. Okay. Now, authentication for accessing, okay, the same question. Okay. Okay, then I have okay, what and authentication, okay, again question. Okay. Like SQL query. Okay, yes. GraphQL, the GraphQL APIs you can use like an SQL query. GraphQL where you are passing your direct query string, and that query string is nothing but your request body. Okay. Likewise, in my screen, if you can see, I am passing that post in the some body. Same way, GraphQL, you're passing your request body as a query string. That is nothing but your query. Once that goes to the query, there is no further calculation required to the server because it's you're getting it directly in a query. They will respond immediately and response is faster compared to the REST. So GraphQL will respond faster compared to the REST, but there are so many calculation and GraphQL is so tough to understand and execute. Okay. Okay, microservice and API difference. So when we say API is a so I'll explain you first the microservice. Now, account balance. For example, I have banking application and I want to do some account balance check. On the account balance check, I directly click on account balance and I'll get some balance. So there are so many calculations behind the scene that it will take your all debits, it will take all your credits, it will do all your transaction validation, it will see how much you've transferred the fund. Based on that, all those calculations, your balance, actual balance is displayed. Now, to perform all those different operations, there is a small services, APIs, which will perform. Let's say all debit calculation, there is a debit API. All credit calculation, there is a credit API. All fund transfer, there is a fund transfer API. All those are a smaller chunk. Those are performed in a smaller bunch of code, and it will be much more faster compared to the web service. Like in the API, like in API, one API do all the calculation back in behind the scene will take some time. But let's consider all these three are doing the calculation at the same time, so it will reduce your time. So that is how microservice is much more faster, and microservice work in a smaller part rather than on the bigger one. Okay, guys. So I think we are over the time now.